really took that song. Thank you. I forgot about that. What really took that song over the top was the UGC strategy. I mean, we can't go nowhere. You see everybody, they're either doing a dance, they're using it in their content. You can even get a template on CapCut with AI, and all you got to do is upload your picture to CapCut, and it will automatically have you do the dance that they created. So that UGC content strategy is very, very important. That's one of actually the most, if you do it way, you can almost from a grassroots effort, uh, and and if you really think about it, you can get your song to go viral that way. If you have some type of challenge, maybe it's a dance challenge, right? A lot of times we'll see open verse challenge that was really popular with the Money Long song, Hours and Hours, right? That UGC strategy. So as you're creating your own content, the brand story, the performance video content, start to think about, can we create, is there a UGC opportunity for this song, and that's going to help you tremendously. Now, we talk about the frequency of your type of content. I believe you want about 30% to be brand story content, 40% to be promotional content, and then the other 30% of your content should be just random. And so, this is specifically when we're in a release cycle, so 40% promotional, where you're really intentionally promoting a song, 30% brand story that talks about your story as an artist, how you came up, hey Mo, and everything. And then the other 30% should be just random, right? You don't want to get so predictable in this release cycle and everything you're posting uh out now. Check my song out, right? So that's really, really important. So again, just to recap, we're talking about the preparation, everything you want to do to be properly prepared before we're even 3 weeks before your actual release date, right? Now, depending on where you are, the level your audience is, I think the bigger your audience is determines when you do this next step. So if you have a really big audience, you have probably over 200,000 followers, you want to try to align any radio interviews, media outlet, podcast interviews, promo runs. You want to align it up probably 6 weeks or 2 months before. If you can, especially if you're trying to get on some of these bigger platforms. In fact, some of the major media outlets, they require a minimum of 90 days, sometimes 6 months. But there are other smaller media outlets that you can use as a smaller artist that's a little bit more scalable, where if you have that smaller audience, there's some of the smaller blogs you can research and Google and chat GPT, what are some mid-range blogs or media or podcasts that will be relevant for my brand and my audience size to tap into with this release. So these are things you want to kind of set up all before, you know we're talking about, even before you're talking about your pre-save campaign. And then another thing you want to do is, there's different platforms. Like some people like Submit Hub. One that I've used a lot that I think is very valuable is Groover.co. That's GROOVER.co, where you can submit for various playlists. The reason why I like Groover, because all of their curators, their playlist, independent playlist curators, they all have been verified. And so you're not submitting to a independent curator that is, doing something fugazi and they got bot traffic going to their playlist that can risk your music being taken down. So Groover.co, there's a couple of other ones, but I suggest that one because, like I said, they have a nice verification process where they really have verified, you know, okay, we know these playlist curators, they're legit. And the good thing about Groover is, they have what they call groovies, and that's their currency on their platform. I think one groovy is equivalent to $2. And so, just about every submission to submit to independent curator, and sometimes they have different media outlets as well. But to submit, it's about $2, or two groovy points. And the good thing is, when you submit, if that particular media outlet, if they don't respond back to you, they will give you those points back. So submitting to those independent playlist curators and the different sites. Um, Now you should be about at this point, we're about 2 weeks out, which is the time you should be thinking about, okay, now it's time to start to promote this pre-save, right? Hopefully you got the pre-save link from your distributor. Just about every distributor now provides a pre-save link. I remember when we were first creating this strategy, we had platforms like even video, they didn't even know what a pre-save link was. And so now just about every distributor will give you a pre-save link. If not, there are, third-party platforms where you can create smart links and different things like that to actually create that pre-save link for you. So now you can put that link in your bio, and as you're rolling out your content, all this content that you gathered over the last 3 weeks, your call to action would be to encourage people to pre-save the link. Now, I think it's best to do your pre-save campaign from a grassroots perspective. Some people like to run ads around content to get pre-save. I don't think it's as effective. I think it's better, again, you want to save the bulk of your marketing dollars for when the song is live because attention span is so short. And you got the pre-save link. Now you're ready to announce that release date. We suggest you do this about 2 weeks out. You launch that release date, you hit the pre-save, you promote the pre-save campaign and encourage that. And the reason why the pre-save is good, just so you know, it tells the algorithm of the DSPs prior to you dropping that, hey, people really like this song and people are interested in this particular release. So it's a great early signal for the algorithm before you get out, you drop that song. So 2 weeks out before the release date, we think that's a good spot. Maybe a week before the release date, because again, you don't want to be over promoting because attention span is so short. Also, one of the things you want to do in this time period as you're promoting the pre-save, you should be testing different parts of the song intentionally. Don't run the whole song entire through its entirety. So test the first chorus, test the first verse, test the second verse as individual pieces of content so you can now identify, what part of the song that people are kind of gravitating to before your release. That'll give you some early signals, if you can. And again, during this pre-save time, you don't want to use all your content. Remember, we talked about earlier having 3 performance videos with different aesthetics. So during this pre-save phase, I don't suggest that you post all the aesthetic videos. You want to save some stuff in the can so you have that novelty when you drop. Um, Also, this is a time if you were able to secure some of those blogs, follow up with them, those media outlets, those promo runs. Make sure that you are still on their schedule for your week of release, that you're doing that podcast interview or that blog is going to write about you that week of your release because you want all this to line up, right? That's just a part of triggering the algorithm. The more this lines up, it's good. If this is something new to you, drop an emoji in the chat. Let us know. Again, like I say, this works best when you guys talk back to me. A great thing to do, I think, the week of is a countdown. Now Spotify, if you're releasing the album, Spotify will give you a countdown page where it's literally a countdown to your actual release day. And that's something cool to share. It helps create anticipation, or even maybe you create some type of content countdown through what you post on your socials. You create that content and you 3 days away, 2 days away, just to build that anticipation. And so you have that. Then, I suggest if you can, a week prior to set up your ad campaigns. Don't launch it, but at least have the metrics that you want to use and the have it ready to go because especially if you're running meta ads, which is a big KPI, key performance indicator for a lot of the campaigns that we run, meta can give you so many problems and trying to set that up, find out, your ads account isn't working. I remember when I first started working with City Limits and Max and Monica, the City Limits ads account kept getting hacked every time we started to launch the campaign. So if you can go ahead and set that up in Meta at least a week before, so you know what's going on, you don't want any surprises with that. You'll be really good in actually launching that. Now, in the actual 11-week rollout strategy, we go into great detail on how to exactly, set that up, all the metrics you want to use, what type of budget, really specific on how to do that, what tools you want to use to to launch those campaigns so that you're actually optimizing. But I won't go into great detail now because I'll be talking for an hour. So now finally you're on your week, you're on the day of the release week. Um, and hopefully you feel good. You should feel really, really good about yourself at this point because you've done all this preparation, whether you're a manager or you're an artist, but you've prepared. And so, release week should be easy breezy for you, right? Because you've done the hard work. You've done the the preparation. My dad was an architect, so I live a lot by the carpenter's rule, measure twice, cut once. So hopefully release week, you're feeling good, you're excited, you're prepared, and you can just start to celebrate that. But launch your ad campaign the day of. Super important because those first 7 days that your song lives on the DSPs is the most important. It tells the algorithm exactly how people are responding. And I always use this analogy to explain it. Mostly all these algorithms work the same way. They're looking at some of the same metrics. So if you notice when you post on like Instagram, determining the amount of engagement that you get, really, it used to be like the first hour, but now Instagram is like the engagement that a piece of content gets within the first day or so, determines how well that piece of content is going to perform. And it's the same exact way with the DSP, specifically even Spotify, but their window is a little bit longer. So the amount of engagement that your song gets within those first 7 days is the most important because it tells the algorithm, hey, people like this song, let's push it out to more people. And some of those metrics that you want to pay attention to is, the skip rate. That's one of the biggest metrics you want to pay attention to on every platform now. Are people skipping this song? Um, are they hitting the repeat button? Are they adding it to their personal playlist? Are they saving it? Because that signals a lot of future streams. And I always I tell people all the time, as a marketer, one of the things I'm looking at, I'm not necessarily looking at the streams. I'm looking at, more importantly, your listeners to save ratio. So how many people actually listen to this song and actually saved it? That's a very, very important metric. And if you're getting anywhere from 10% to 30, 50% in a listener to save ratio, that's a great sign. If this is probably your third or fourth release or 10 releases in and you're getting a song that's getting a save rate of about 40%, 30%, double down on it. That's a great metric. That means 30% of the people that listen to it, they're actually saving it. And that's more valuable than a stream because that means if they save it, the data shows us that they're going to stream that song at least for another 6 months, to another a year or so, and possibly a lifetime if it's a song that they like. If it's a hit, they will continue to stream it forever. So your listener to save ratio is really, really important. Also, make sure you just change out your graphics. We talked about the importance of having two sets of banners for the pre-save and out now. So release day, make sure you change it on all platforms. Pretty simple, and hopefully you had some interviews lined up to help, tell the algorithm that, people are interested in you. Because one of the things that a lot of people don't know, Spotify has these crawlers that will go and search the internet um, release week just to see, are people reposting you? Are any media outlets talking about you? Are people sharing the music on their socials? They literally are looking at these things, and that actually will kind of help your popularity score on Spotify. if you're familiar with the popularity score on Spotify, drop yes in the chat so I know you know exactly what that is. But your popularity score on Spotify, it's a number that they will give you from 0 to 100 for each song, which will let you know exactly how your song is ranking. And so that's super, super important. And this is really the bulk of it, you know, and you'd be surprised if you did that, these things alone, I promise you, and you did it consistently, uh every release, your release is going to compound, you know. Um, I don't know if one of my partners called in here that we seen it with the artist we were working with, Tyron. What do you want me to show on screen exactly, Mo? But we seen with the artist Tyron that um, you know, when we followed this framework over 6 releases back to back in about 18 months, that he now still today, and we did this we followed this framework with him early 2021. And when we started working with Tyron, and I'll show some case studies a little bit later on, but when we start working with Tyron, uh, you know, Tyron had about 50 monthly listeners, you know, and we did the same exact framework consistently, you know, over 6 releases in about an 18-month span. And now, being 4 years removed from running any marketing campaign, spending any marketing dollars, Tyron still grows every year 30% organically in his streams because we did a great job in following this framework, the actual uh, consistently over time over about 6 releases. So we were very intentional in what I call teaching the algorithm exactly who his audience is. And so now, even though he hasn't spent any marketing dollars since 2022, you know, and I'll show you this guy's at the end of the call, he's still growing year to year. He's up 30% in listeners. He's up 30% in streams this year. He did 2.4 million streams this year. And we haven't, you know, spent any marketing dollar uh on Tyron's or done any campaigns where we had it cost us up front, and he's still growing. So that's the value of really following a framework, being prepared. You follow this framework consistently, and being intentional with it, and you will grow with each release. I always say, you know, each release should compound. You know, it's kind of like when you post on social media, believe it or not, the more you post, the more followers you're going to grow. And it's a similar type of framework and everything, with the DSPs. So if you're consistent with a release strategy over, you know, a period of time, you will you will definitely grow. And we're gonna bring Max in here because I want Max to talk about some of the different things that the label is looking for and what he sees now. And again, we're grateful for Max being on the call with us. Max actually took the time to step away. He's at a video shoot for one of his clients, that signed uh, to a label, and so he's here with us. Are you here still here, Max, or did you step out?
You see me? I'm
Yeah,
on.
there we go. Okay.
All right. Yeah, so thanks for having me. Great to join everybody on the call. I think this system is very much needed because infrastructure is what most most companies are lacking. And Keyz, I met him about a year and a half ago, and he became a really integral part of what we do as a company and was very much instrumental in helping us build up City Limits' social media presence. Because when Monica Payne, my business partner, she's on. Hey, Monica, say hello. You still on, Mo?
Sorry, I was the person with the barking dog.
It's all good. It's all good. So you know, Monica Payne, my business partner, she actually discovered the guys and brought them to me. Uh, Loved them right away, but when they came to us, they actually didn't have that presence on Instagram and on TikTok. And through a lot of the methods that Keyz recommended to us, we really got some tremendous growth, which led to a lot of majors uh, basically wanting to meet the guys and then showcasing the guys. And now they're on the cusp of signing a new deal because of some of these strategies. So, hats off to Keyz and his system. And Keyz, you got questions? You want to do Q&A style?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm For some reason my computer wants to move slow today, but I was trying to put notes here. Um, so what do you feel that artists are missing? I'll just pull it up from my phone. What do you feel that artists are missing the most today, in your opinion, just whether it's on the independent level, with artists? I know you come across a lot of different artists. But what do you feel that their biggest struggle is from?
I think that there's a lack of a lot of it is a lack of consistency because being creative as an artist and then taking off that hat and then now becoming the manager and then taking off that hat and becoming the business person and then the social media manager. It's a lot for any one artist or any one manager. So I think putting together your team is probably the most essential thing. And then also having a system in place that allows all your different team members to communicate and to have access to the data. Because it is even an individual artist, it's you're the CEO of your own label. You really control your destiny from the minute you start putting out the music.
I'd like
Yeah,
to add to that
Yes, ma'am.
as well. Hi, everybody. One of the things that seems to be a little challenging, I notice, for creatives, because, like Max said, being an independent artist, you are the team. Most of the artists, they themselves, every day are having to put on so many different hats. But one of the challenges that I see is just consistency with content. And I want to piggyback on that with Max. Content, content, engagement. And sometimes, we're in such a microwavable era that you feel, oh, I've promoted this song for a month or for 6 weeks or whatever, and I'm on to the next. And then and then you just kind of leave that song behind. Well, no, all year long. It's, like you just have to stay on top of it. One of the strategies that I've used with City Limits is content day. So there's a day that I will try to get as much as I can in that one day. I may try to get at least 7 pieces of content. Well, what type of content am I getting? It could be anything from shooting off of your phone, the actual song that maybe we've released, and then I'll go into CapCut and then I'll put the song, behind that visual so it sounds strong. It could be BTS. Uh, it could be just them being silly, so I'm showing personality. I'm always pushing the song in the content though. And so now I can maybe stretch that 7 pieces of content to maybe a week and a half. So, it's just really creating a strategy because content is the key, and you don't want to keep pushing the same visual or the same image, because then people will just scroll past. So, if you're not familiar with CapCut, I would say download it because when you're leading up to a release, if you've got images or if you went and got coffee that day or if you went into the studio or whatever it is that you're posting on your socials, add your song, add your song as you're leading up to the actual release. And don't stop. Let it be that that's your soundtrack for whatever content you're putting out for that month. And then use your polls, ask questions. Take parts of the lyrics of the song, to open up conversation, and even be a little risque in that conversation. People like controversy, engagement, respond back. That's another thing I notice. A lot of creative people, they don't respond back to the comments. Respond back. And give people, tell people, share it with a friend, give them direction, but consistency, and try if you can to at least post 3 posts a day.
Yo, that's really good advice. Real talk, if I was a recording artist, I'd be talking to my fans all the time. I don't understand.
Right.
I really don't understand that your customer, you could be talking to your customers every single day
Single day.
Right.
directly.
Yeah. I
Like
see it all the time.
use the tech, guys. Use the
Yeah,
tech.
that's what we notice with a lot of creative people. It's like, they think, okay, I'll just drop this and then I'll drop the cover. And if
Mhm.
I took a video, I'll drop that. And then they just it's like, no, you got to live there. You got to be so fucking hungry
Mhm.
that you got to ride that wave. You've got to engage, communicate, um, set up Zoom calls like this. Even if only 2 people show up, it doesn't matter. That 2 may turn into 4. That 4 may turn into 8. Especially if the conversation is good and you're sharing, good stuff. But stay on their necks.
And, you know, building your database is probably one of the most essential things that you can do really for the rest of your career because those are really your fans that are going to buy your tickets. They're going to support you. They're going to be there when you need that first week release number. They're going to tap in on their pre-sale, their pre-save and their pre-sale. And, you know, those are the diehards that you really want to get their information and build a really strong bond with them. You have that, there's no reason why any of your releases, shouldn't be triggered by the algorithm if you have your diehards that'll
Yeah.
work with you and for you.
That's right. And we watched City Limits grow from, they started with 26. Keyz had suggested our post 3 days, 3 times a day, and we loaded up. And when I tell you we stuck to the plan, we stuck to the plan, and we went from 26,000 followers to less than 40 days. The guys are saying thank you for 50,000 follows, and then before you know it, it's thank you for 80,000 follows. I mean, in 4 months we got to about 100,000, and this was all organic, because as a company we don't believe in buying,
Yeah.
because labels can see through that, or marketing people can see through that. It does not serve the client. You want that organic growth, but a strategy and sticking to it, you will see results.
Yeah. 100%. And just so you guys know, if you don't know Max and Monica, they've helped some of the biggest stars and icons to date, become who they are, and done millions of dollars in sales and revenue. And so, you're getting it firsthand from, you know, people who've done it at the highest level. And I agree so much. I always say I truly believe this. This is one of our core values at IBA, that the the artists today that really are intentional with engaging with their fans, building that relationship. You're doing the fan capturing things. I think those are going to be the next icons of the next generation to come. And a good sign of this is when we look at some of the biggest celebrities now are the streamers, right? your Show Speeds and your Kai Cenats. These are some of the biggest celebrities today where you ask yourself why? Because they are so engaged with their audience. Granted, they're streaming, but they are literally talking to their fans, their chat all day long, direct one-on-one engagement with their fans. And that's so important now, especially when attention span and we're over consumed with content. So taking the time to build that rapport, I talk about this a lot, is so valuable. But just to keep going, so Max and Monica, what do you guys see as something that the labels want today? What are they looking for today and before they will sign an artist? Are they signing artists that, just because you're talented and you sound really good, what makes a label want to work with
Hell
you?
no.
All right, well, I'm gonna start with me personally. I definitely need to see the talent. The, the talent is number one. I like to see the artist's work ethic. I can kind of get an idea based on their social footprint as to how hard they work, whether or not they have a team, whether or not they're consistent. These are all things that I personally look for. So labels are also major labels are also looking for those things. But in addition, they're looking for a record that's already kind of on the move. Um, these record companies are becoming more and more like just pure distributors.
Yep.
They don't do the artist development
Nope.
phases that we used to do back in the day when you used to wish for a record deal and
Mm-mm.
have a bunch of executives inside the label that would work with you hand in hand to help, develop your sound, develop your look, work with you on music videos. That stuff is pretty much out the window. These labels are more like investment banks that look for records that they can invest in. And they want records that are on the move with an artist that has a team.
Yeah.
That's what I find.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I can't emphasize enough, first and foremost, a hit record. A hit record, a strong song. Work ethic is for sure up there because you're pretty much on your own. I'm finding labels are interested in being in partnership, the whole talent thing. Now, Max and myself, we're kind of old school in that, like, love really, we look at talent all the time. So a very talented individual is a person that will also get my attention. And then, as Max said, I'm looking at the work ethic. I'm looking at how your mind is working as just a marketing person who may not even know that they're a marketing person, but they're just spending the time on their socials and they're engaging. I'm looking at their content because this is a lot of work. And there are some people who just do it because they love it. And then you've got people who really want to break through. And the ones who really want to break through, they really put the work in. I'll close with this on this topic. I had the opportunity to sit with this one young guy. Can't think of his last name. His first name is Jordan. He was on America's Got Talent, and like 21, 22 year old. And I saw that he just had an enormous fan base on TikTok, and he was letting me know basically that, that year he had made six figures on TikTok. Well, I wanted to know, Jordan, how'd you do that? Right. And so he said to me, he said, I was working a job where I made $8 an hour. He's from New Orleans. He said, I was making $8 an hour. He said, one day I just got on TikTok and I just turned my camera on. It's not like I had a lot of followers. I turned my camera on and I stayed on for an hour. He was like, I was singing, playing music, whatever, singing, doing his shtick, the thing that he does. He said when he got off, he made $10. And he said wait a minute. In his mind, it clicked. I just made $10 in 1 hour, and I'm making $8 an hour at a job that I freaking hate. And so he made a commitment to himself, and he said, you know what? I'm going to do this every day for 1 hour. He did that every day for 1 hour. That $10 turned into 20, turned into 50, turned into 100. Now other people are joining. Then he started doing these TikTok, whatever these challenges that they do where the screen is split. I don't know what that challenge is. Maybe Keyz can chime in on that. But now the people who are chiming in with him are those people's followers are now noticing Jordan. But when he told me that he had made about 40, $50,000 in a few months, in like 6 months or whatever, I was very impressed by that. But the key thing is that something clicked in his head, and he was consistent.
Yeah, that's so true. And to sum that up, what I heard was work ethic, consistency, doing the things that you know most aren't willing to do. Having a team, right, which is a very, very, very important one. Infrastructure, and I'll say this, as we start,
Database,
it is right.
database.
Database, that fan capture, and really, that's a system, right? That's infrastructure, and
Mhm.
you know, one of the things I'll say, as we start to transition to the next section, and I want to get some feedback from you from the room in a second, but every business, and as an artist, you're a business, whether you got a small team, no team, or a huge team, you're a business. But every business 101 business are successful, and they scale because of systems and infrastructure. And that's so, so important. But you know, hopefully you guys are taking notes. You're finding this stuff valuable because again, these are the things that if you put it into action and you have the right systems in place, you have the right infrastructure in place, you're going to grow. You're going to see your career taking off. You're going to build momentum. You're going to start to generate revenue. And so that's so important. As we move on here, I want to know, and we won't spend too much time on this, but if you're as an artist, or if you represent talent as an artist, if you think you're ready to start touring, um, drop yes or a fire emoji in the comment section if you think as an artist at this stage in the game, right now you're ready to start touring. Um, you know, and we'll touch on it briefly, but Max, how do you know when the artist is ready to tour?
When the artist is ready to tour, um, I mean, there's a couple of factors. One, does the artist do they have any major markets that make sense for them? And are there any rooms that we can get them into to play? One. Number two is do they have enough traction to potentially get a booking agent? Because we always look for the assistance of a booking agent to help us route and uh, and secure gigs. Uh, Three, can they potentially sell tickets? We got to see, is the audience engaged enough to buy tickets? Sometimes you think your artist is ready, you put tickets on sale, and they don't sell through at all. So you have to kind of gauge the size of the venue you're going to go for. Sometimes you might want to start with a free show, then move on to, a small venue that has a capacity of 100 or 200. Sometimes you try to put your artist in front of an opening act in a certain market where you know that you don't have the pressure of selling the ticket, but you're getting them the exposure that will eventually lead to them, building their own audience. So to me, those are the things that I look for.
Right. And that's where that even capturing that fan data we see becomes really valuable, right? Because as you start to look, and one of the things we talk about in this release system is analyzing your data, right? And hopefully you're capturing the fans, meaning, you're collecting emails and phone numbers because again, like I always say, you don't own these platforms, you don't own Instagram, you don't own Spotify, you're renting that space. So as you're able to really capture that data, having systems in place to collect emails and phone numbers is what's going to really set you up to be really effective when it comes time to tour because you have that data, you have your audience segmented, you know exactly what fans are in this city, what state they're in, and you can really make informed decisions. And I see some people said Tiago's ready for touring. I think Jason said his client is ready for opening act. Somebody said they're ready to do studio tours. I'm not sure what that is, but that's one of the reasons why we created this framework, what we call the IBA release and growth system powered by Aggie, because we want to make sure that you guys are getting the systems and the infrastructure and that your team is in place as you start to build your career. Did you want to say something, Monica?
I was going to add a couple, just a few things in terms of the touring. Um, I'm currently now in the South, and one of the things that I've realized from being here is that in some southern states and maybe some larger states, but this is just something that I've just realized since the top of the year that Eventbrite is um, like a platform that a lot of these cities use to, just share what's going on in the city. So, if you're like a new artist wanting to get your feet wet and trying to build up your, fan base, I would search in Eventbrite to see if there are any R&B events or, whatever it is your genre is, to see what events are coming up for, like the next, because some of these people they upload and they start promoting months in advance. And if you see like maybe a live music thing, maybe contact that event creator, send a media package like your song or, or whatever it is that you have and say that you'll perform for free and see how many people respond back to you, you know. But that's a platform that I'm realizing that a lot of events, I don't know if it's just smaller cities, but a lot of event planners are posting and promoting. And then also use your analytics. Go into your analytics and see, what cities or what states are responding to you. And then try to connect, find out what those small music venues are in those cities and states and look at their calendar, see what they've got coming up, contact them, let them know, hey, I'm getting 50 whatever percent of engagement from this city or whatever, whatever, whatever. Send your music, see if you can be an opening act. Um, but though, those are just a couple of additional strategies.
Yeah. So important. And if some of you guys in here have went through the 11-week rollout strategy, and I say analyze your data probably for every every segment of the of the actual framework that I'm talking about, analyzing the data that's really going to tell you, what decisions you should make, where you should be reaching out, what venues, and everything. And so, you know, which leads me to what we started to build is, the IBA release and growth system powered by Aggie. We've partnered with AI platforms that now a lot of this we can do it. You can have AI agents doing a lot of this stuff for you, and we're going to get deeper. But Max, I know you saw the early demos. What's something you're excited about this platform that we're launching here tonight?
The fact that, it's a system that is really something that's necessary. Like I've seen a lot of different pitches from a lot of folks, and I felt like from all the concepts that folks have pitched me, this has been by far the most custom tailored to the music industry, and creator friendly. You don't need a degree in computer programming to really to understand it, to grasp it, to show additional team members how to use it. I think it's just really an essential tool that's simple. And, I think combined with the fact that your methods are really effective, I feel real comfortable using it for our business on a regular going forward.
Mhm. And based off of our conversations, Keys, one of the things that I thought was really great was it's time effective. Like that's what, here is one place that all this stuff that we've been talking about in terms of, getting having a content day, putting things in a folder, that you can just run it through this system and put times, and it can help create content. It's just you may be using or may have subscriptions to a couple of other platforms that you might be able to now discontinue, and because this one platform can help you on so many different levels. And for someone like me, I'm always looking for the smarter route because it's so much from shooting content, editing content, answering emails, whatever your other hustles are, it's so much. So anything that I can go to that's going to save me 3, 4, 5 steps, then that becomes the tool that I begin to use more. So that's what I thought was really cool and what I'm excited about.
Yeah, well, that's that. I think that's the perfect time. I got my partners here over at Aggie, Julian and Steven. I'm gonna let them take over, and they'll do a demo of the product of you know and everything. And I think Steven, I need to make you a host, right? So you can share.
Yeah, if I can share my screen, that would be helpful.
Also, Keys, I have a suggestion. I think you should do a strictly marketing session with Monica the next time you do this because she's a brilliant marketer. She's got some gems.
There we go. So that's gonna be the next one. I think we got the icon agent already in the chat saying we're looking at June the 18th. So yeah, that'll be the next session we do for real, where we just really dive in on some marketing stuff. And again, thank you, Max. Thank you,
And
Monica.
thank you, Max. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
anytime you big me up is always huge because you're such a heavyweight in this industry. I don't even know if half these people really understand truly who you are because you don't talk about it. You're an action person, but Max Goose is very much the man behind a lot of major artists for many years. He's very well respected industry veteran and CEO. All the way from B2K to Sweetie, Ty Dolla, DJ Mustard, uh, YG. And he's working with these young girls now that are just amazing. And
Right.
Horizon, yeah, City Limits. But, this is definitely, this was awesome to have him here. So, anyway, thank you, Goose.
Thank you. Keys, thank you very much for the invite. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. I've learned so much from you both in the last 2 years, and I'm truly grateful uh, for the opportunity. And I'll tell us one story before Steven goes there. I knew this was gonna be special. My first time meeting Monica and the guys in City Limits in LA, April 2024, and the next day we were in the studio with Stevie Wonder. So.
Wow, that's incredible.
are really in the presence of some real legends and heavyweights, that's done so much and great people, in the business. And that's rare to find in this business. So I'm truly grateful and thankful for you guys coming in and talking in this space and working with me, giving me an opportunity for sure.
Mm. Thank you, Keyz. We got you.
All right, Stephen and Julian, just you guys get to show people what's up next, what the future looks like here.
Yeah, cool. So I'm gonna turn it over to Steven. He's our lead developer here. Just want to introduce myself, Julian Penny here with Aggie. We're excited to be here with Keyz and Max and what they're building. It's amazing what it's doing for artists. And we're going to show you what Aggie can do in collaboration with what Keyz and Max are doing. So I'm going to turn it over to Steven. It's better to see things than actually talk about it. So he's going to take you through what Aggie does, and then we'll kind of open it up for any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Julian. Listening for the past hour, I think there's been one word that's continuously stuck out, and it's consistency.
Yeah.
It's hard to do anything if you're not consistent at it continuously. And at Aggie, that's kind of what we're all about, is being able to help you with your social media. You do all the hard work of making the music and making the content, and social media has so many facets to it that if we can help simplify it and make you consistent and build your follower growth and bring people to your music, then that's a success. That's what we're working for. So just it's actually right here, keeping you consistent on social media. Basically, we're an automation tool. We work with all of the major social media platforms, and we're just designed to help kind of take the complex world of social media and just make it really easy to use. Uh, we work directly with Keyz to make a lot of this happen specifically for music artists. And that's what we'll walk through a little bit today. And then we're just going to kind of show off some of the key functionality that we provide inside of our platform. So working with Keyz, we've come up with kind of what's the most important things to an artist and the most important things to the social media platforms. They all have different algorithms. They all have different ways to reach the followers and to get the growth that you're looking for. So some of the questions that we ask through our quick onboarding process, they're pretty generic to start. We just ask for like your artist and your name, type of music that you make. We try to keep it a little bit personal. So what made you fall in love with music? We try to get not just the business side of the music, but also, the personal side. What are some of the challenges and success? Success is different for every single person. It's different for a band versus, a producer. So we try to get the best quality of content for you, depending on what your goals are. So once you go through and answer all these questions, Aggie goes through and builds this comprehensive artist profile for you. Once we've created that profile, we then have you upload any of your own media. So think like photos if you have a logo for your band, videos. If you have music clips, you can upload music clips that can be posted directly to all of these social platforms. Once you go through and upload all of this content, you're presented with Aggie. And what we've done in this account is we filled out some information for city limits, and it's already gone through automatically. It takes about 5 minutes total to go through and create a month's worth of content that gets scheduled out to all of your connected social platforms. So we can handle things, like videos. So we uploaded a lot of videos for this, some amazing content. It went through, it created a caption, assigned it to the Instagram channel, gave it a date and a time, and all you have to do is approve it, and it will automatically publish to all of the channels that you connect to. We can see all of the assets that we've uploaded, so all the photos, videos, music. One of the cool things too is that we can take your music and we can lap it over any videos that you have. Another cool feature of Aggie is we could take a static photo and be able to create animations. So if we go back to the calendar, we can take a look at some of these. So this was a static image that we then created this cool kind of zoom in and had them walking up the stairs. So once we go through and create all this content with Aggie, it then gets posted. And another key thing that we've heard throughout tonight is being able to understand the analytics behind it. And so we built this reporting page that kind of shows how your content is being represented by various people that are following you. So this is the City Limits Instagram account. And we can see that they're doing really well when they post reels, not as well when they're posting photos. So, reels are a huge thing for Instagram and Facebook platforms. So if we continue to publish reels, we can see that our users get real growth in their accounts. One cool thing too is that we can also come over here and we can do some comparisons. So let's say we want to compare City Limits to Chris Brown, right? Chris Brown, I was looking at these earlier today, and I thought it was pretty interesting that, obviously Chris Brown has a lot more followers, but the City Limits is getting substantially higher average likes than Chris Brown, which means that there's a deep connection between the City Limits and their followers. And all of these types of analytics are super important to understand as an artist. So, and one cool thing too is Aggie will be able to go through and build better content over time based on this data. So I know I had about a total of 5 minutes. So before we continue on, happy to take any questions or if there's anything from anyone that I could show off or answer, that would be great.
First of all, this is amazing. This is exactly what I was talking about. Smarter, not harder. You just kind of cut out you saved you bought me back about 5 hours of my day.
That's great. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do is we're trying to make social media super easy for everyone. It's every day it feels like Instagram changes the way that it is to get followers or, the best way to post on TikTok. And, if we can take a lot of that mundane tasks away and let you focus on the music, that's our goal.
Hmm.
This is Cindy. I agree. This is very, very impressive. I came on for one reason, and I wasn't expecting this. I'm currently assisting um, another manager. I'm managing a couple up and coming artists, but another manager. He has Phil and Lee. Phil and Lee is the an American Idol that just ended. He made it to the top 11 finalists. He's a great singer. And we're currently working on marketing strategies and the best way to increase his social media. And this is perfect.
That's excellent. This is the way that we built it as well is we have the ability to add, multiple different artists inside one account. So you could manage all of these artists from one account and be able to switch between them and see the analytics and make posts and connect all the social channels and do everything.
Brilliant. Just brilliant. And I love that the analytics is attached because information, allows us to, as managers and company heads, to really, it helps us to truly dial in. And even just the graphic motion, there's so much AI. I mean, you just have to keep being creative because content is key, consistency is key. And it sounds like Aggie can take one image and turn it into three or more pieces of content just with one thing. Um, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great way to put it. So I think after this, what we're going to do is Keyz will be sending out an email with some instructions on how anyone here could get set up. Julian, did you have any information on that?
No, I would leave that to Keys. Keys will share that with everyone as far as next steps. Um, and if Keys, there he is. Yeah, I'll just leave that to Keys. He'll take care of all that. But great job, Stephen. Appreciate it. And again, we're excited to be here with Keys and Max. It's they're great guys, and again, great mentors. And obviously, you know what their past history is. So we're excited to be here.
Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Stephen. I've been impressed with what we're doing, and there's a real opportunity here. And I've seen some of you guys commenting in the chat, this is what I need. This is an amazing platform. And what we're building here is really, really special with Aggie, the IBA release and growth system. And we're opening this up right now for only a select few artists, and you have an opportunity to really be a part of what we're building here. And this is going to go. I tell people all the time, this is the future because you guys are just seeing what tier one looks like. So let me ask you a question. Imagine you had a team that just was working on your career 24 hours a day. That's one of the beauties of what we can build out with AI and agents. So imagine, not interns, not freelancers that, they tell you one date for deadline and it's 3 months later, you're waiting on different things. But, you have people and agents that can actually manage a real team, a content strategist, a brand strategist, a release strategist, a merch manager, a marketing manager, a growth analyst, an entire team that really is just working on your behalf, kind of 24 hours. There's so many possibilities in what we're doing and how we're building this, and you guys have a great opportunity in being a part of that founding 100. And it's because, like Max and Monica was saying earlier, the artists that are winning today, it's they have systems, they have infrastructure, they can be consistent, and so what we're building here, this is about how you operate better with the infrastructure. And it's I always say labels don't just outperform indie artists. Is they just have more systems, they have more people, more execution, and that's exactly what we're building here. That's going to help. And like Monica just said, something like this takes 5 hours off of her day, and like I said, this is the scratch. Yes, Joy, we do say Aggie does have a merch manager. You can build out an entire merch store, for your artist's behalf. And so this is what this is about. For years, the infrastructure like this was only available to inside a label or unless you had a big check, And so now we've eliminated that. That's over. And that's what we built with Aggie. It changes all of that. It gives something, artists, most artists never had. And this is what we call the operating system for growth. That's why we're calling it the IBA release and grow system. Even I like to think of tier one as post and grow, because if you're doing these things and you're utilizing the technology and the agents, you're going to grow. Every day your content is planned, every platform is coordinated. You're able to take long form pieces of content, and turn them into dozens of assets, or even take one picture and turn it into three different assets, like Monica was saying. So this is what we call the post and grow, the release and grow strategy, paired with the release framework we were talking about. So there's a lot of different things that we're building these AI agents to do. And fan interaction, becomes an opportunity. Fan capturing, these are other things we're building these AI agents, like Max was saying, being able to capture that data, when you're getting ready to prepare for tour, or you got a new release, being able just to use that data. But now you have a system, you got a team, you have infrastructure that's working for you. You wake up, you know exactly what's going on. You're not worried about what you're going to post. But like I said, as an artist, you're a business and your business is moving forward. And so this is really, really valuable, and it's going to help a lot of you guys the same way a company has different departments. So now you have AI agents that's performing and doing all these different functions for your career. And so there's an opportunity to really be a part of this founding 100 and what we're building here. I use the analogy. Think about, you know, the early the early people that adopted to Facebook first, right? When Mark first started Facebook, it was just for college, right? And Now look what it's come. People are using it to grow their businesses, right? And using it to make money. And so when you're early on to things like this, you have an advantage over, the rest of the industry or the rest of the world as this is building out. And so we have different tiers. But again, and I like to say this isn't just software, this isn't tech, this is your infrastructure. This is going to be your execution, you're buying time, right? You're buying execution, which, you know, again, like Monica said, if you got something that can cut 5 hours out of your day easy, and then as you start to get in tier two or tier three, these agents are working on your behalf 24/7. What we're building with the Keyz agent and the Icon agents, we have it where we're building the agents that now you you don't have to spend the time to even reach out to some of these venues. You can have your agent do it automatically for you, and where it's emailing on your behalf. And so that's what we're really building here on the different tiers. And if you guys are interested in this, just drop an emoji or in the chat so we know. And we're going to talk about exactly how you guys can be a part. Right now, I think the site, okay, we're getting some emojis. The site is up uh, where you can definitely join in on tier one or tier two and tier three. I think of tier one as access to the system, to the framework. Tier two is more the AI agents become your team, and tier three is really where the infrastructure, and it's not just the AI agents, but now you have access to myself, to Max, to Monica, to really come if you have the leverage and take it to the next level. So you're really growing exponentially and your career is excelling exponentially. So we'll open it up for some questions, but you guys have an opportunity here to really to get in on the Founding 100 and be a part of the future of the music business and what's going to actually make your life easier. And so imagine you're not trying to do all this, but you have a real system that's analyzing data. You know what content is performing best, so you don't have to guess what should I post today. Then you can cross-reference the data. The agent will tell you, well, when you post this pieces of content today, we've seen a spike in your streams. So this is what we're building. But we'll open it up for some questions, and we can go from there. Any questions so far?
Yeah, also feel free to put them in the chat. I've been answering a couple questions in the chat as well.
Perfect.
Hey Keys, how you doing?
Hey, sweet. How's it going?
Good. I just want to start off by saying thanks a lot for the invite as I've been getting some amazing gems. Nice to meet you, Max and Monica. Thank you so much. I wanted to know, I think I touched on this a while ago on our meeting. What is a good approach? Like when you're starting out and you're trying to build the right team, for you and your artist, because it's just me and her, but we want to build like people that we could rely on, people that, could bring something to the table that we might be missing. What are your tips on how to do that?
I believe, and it's my experience that, you attract your team, you attract your tribe. I think that's very, very important. And, you have an opportunity again with what we're building. And, we've been talking and we've been having our meetings. You're getting access to this network, and even what we're saying now, because there's a natural progression that an artist takes in their career, right? And so early on, being able to have a platform like this, what we're building with Aggie, that it becomes your team, right? That now it's because you need to build this leverage, right? And as you build leverage, you're going to attract a Monica Payne, you're going to attract the Max Gousse, you're going to attract the Keyz, and they're going to come to you and say, Tweet, I see what you and Shada are doing. I love it. I see the momentum. We see what you're doing, and they're going to ask you, who's on your team, and it's going to be like, well, we got an infrastructure set up, right? And so that's really what we're building here because the way it's designed from tier one to tier two, tier three, if you're utilizing the infrastructure, you're utilizing these tools, you're going to naturally grow, right? And then it's going to attract the people that you need on your team 100%. So I would say definitely, being able to use this platform to build that leverage, to build that momentum. So now when you approach a Monica, or your AI agent sends Monica a DM, or a bunch of managers and executives at DM, you can say, hey, here's the leverage. Here's how we've grown over the last 6 releases. We started with 50 monthly listeners. Now we're at 50,000. And that's the beauty of what we're building here. So this is
6:30.
tools that you have available. Go ahead, Max.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
So utilizing this tool. So that's what we're saying, especially in a day and age where and let's just be honest, there's a lot of artists. I think if you go to Chartmetric, which is a tool that we use, right, to see what's going on across the entire industry. If you go to Chartmetric, they're going to show you 14 million artists. And you know, people like Max and Monica, they're on those platforms. The labels, they're on those platforms looking, and they're watching. There's a setting that we can trigger in Chartmetric to say, tell us, hey, what are the artists that have grown tremendously over the last 6 months? And not so much based on what their numbers are, but I always say the most important numbers to me are the growth percentage. What percentage in growth did we see? And so being able to use platforms like the IBA release and growth system, at different tiers to escalate, you start to build that leverage that you need. And then if they're not coming to you, you have these AI agents that are, hitting thousands of them up, and you take and say, hey, here's the options we have. So now you have 20 to 100 different managers that's interested, and you can now write that leverage. You can go and say, well, this works best for us. This aligns, right, what we talk about with our core values. And that's really the key.
And I'll add to that very quickly. Tweet. I agree. First of all, Stephen, that was a great presentation of Aggie. Like, I'm excited to start playing around on the platform and actually using it. And I'm so glad, Keyz, that you use City Limits, because you've just given me another 10 hours back. But a platform like this, from just watching that presentation, you know. When it comes to the way Max and I have worked for many years, and Max is the one who introduced me to Keyz. My job has essentially just been making sure that, once we've identified a client and we're bringing them on, is, I'm kind of day to day in terms of making sure that Max has what he needs, the ammunition that he needs to go do what he does. And he's a numbers person. Talent for sure is going to grab his attention, but then he's the type of person that's going to really do a deeper dive, and he's going to look at your numbers, your streams, how you're engaging, and all, information. So looking at Aggie, it has consolidated all of that. And if you're wanting to attract, and I agree with what Key said, that you do attract your tribe, because we're a small tribe, but we're very strong in each of our respected like positions. But Keyz came on, and as a digital marketer, like really just supersized the stuff that I did, and I've learned so much from him. So it doesn't take like a slew of people, but with having a platform like Aggie, this really consolidates all of the information, aside from helping you to create good quality content. That's what I'm getting out of just watching this presentation. So when you are wanting to attract someone in a different field that you feel would add value to your team, you can just send them a, a readout, I'm imagining, from Aggie, that's going to, direct them to all of your platforms for them to see all of the analytics. And, so you're doing the work for them, so now they can just open that up, take a look at everything, and wow, this is interesting. This person has grown this amount in this short of time, or, this many streams or this many Shazams, and, all of that information is right there on this platform. But yeah, it sounds like if you're building an artist, I don't think that you really need right now in phase one that you need anyone else using a platform like this, because this is taking care of that.
Truly, that's the whole idea, right? To utilize the technology. Shane said, among artists who fully implement the system and still don't grow, what's the most common reason? To be truthfully told, I haven't seen any artist that follows the strategy, that uses the infrastructure and the things that we're setting up, the systems that don't grow. And that's, I mean, I'll knock on wood saying that because it's rare that you can say we've seen a 99% success rate with implementing these systems, implementing these strategies, and now having it to where you don't have to depend on, us as humans, to get the work done. We have it set up where it can be done. So truthfully be told, if there's no artist that we've seen that actually implement the system and don't grow. So the reason you wouldn't grow is because you're not using the system, you're not using the infrastructure, and you're not following the operating manual. That's why we're calling it operating system, because it's like plug and play. You do this, you get your content up, you utilize the system and understand it, you're going to grow. That is, so we haven't seen nobody. And then I think Dramatic said, are you only looking for artists starting out? I'm a songwriter. A lot of my songs I work for hire, so content is all up to me. No, this is, and that's why we created the different tiers, right? It's for every artist or an artist's team, a manager, depending on where you are. And what you want to utilize. So this is for the artist that's starting out. Maybe you don't know, like you said, content is all on you, you know. And so now we have the AI agents that's going to analyze. That's why you go through the unique onboarding process that Steven showed you, because now we'll take that data and the agents will come in and say, hey, we understand exactly who you are. Here's the content strategy that you want to use. You know what? You not in a position where you want to create content this week. Okay, AI will create the content for you based on what you already have. So, you know, this is for any artist or any team that is serious about growing. If you're serious about growing, you're serious about really taking things to the next level. That's the key. Stephanie said, how realistic is the picture of the AI for the content? The good thing about this is you can upload your own existing pictures. And if you know anything about AI, the different AI engines, I was saying this to somebody else. I think it was on the Music Alliance Zoom call a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. The more time you spend with the AI agent or that particular engine, getting to know you, the way you prompt it is really in the prompt. So you can really learn how to prompt correctly. And again, just full transparency, I think that's why I don't believe AI will ever completely erase human intervention, but you know what you can do, the time you can save. Think about scaling, right? Because again, we're in a day and age where this is a people hate when I say it, but it's quantity over quality when it comes to content. Until you figure out exactly and you have the tools like the analytics report that is showing you exactly what type of uh, content is performing the best. So the more you prompt it, the better you prompt it, the more time you spend with it, the more you can get the AI to create what you want when it comes for a content perspective, for sure.
Are there any private, this is Cindy again. Are there any private presentations? So if you have a team of approximately 8 to 10 people, can you do private presentations?
Definitely. Yeah, just you know, hopefully, I did you sign up through the registration form or did you just get the link, Cindy?
I signed up last night.
Okay, so yeah, you should have my email. If not, we have your email, and we can set up that private presentation for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Keys. I would also like it. I would love to just see how the AI works and just kind of the details of it a little
Definitely.
bit more. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I know you, Stephanie. You have my direct number, so shoot me a text, and we'll set a time where we just kind of do that private presentation, and we see what tier is best for you. But again, like I say, you know, understand where you guys are getting in now. There's a reason why we're calling this the Founding 100 because you guys are really going to help us shape this and take it to the next level. And you have that opportunity to tell us, hey, this is what I like, and can we make a custom agent for this? And those are things that we can really do. And it's like I said, think about Uber when they first started, right? Those early drivers that got in they're the ones that capitalized first before it became a thing what everybody knew. And so that's the beauty that you have of becoming a founding 100 with what we're doing because I promise you in 3 months these tiers they're going to be at a different price point because of how the platform has evolved. One thing I like about AI that I think is so cool, it naturally gets better and better. That's what's really interesting about all of these agents. I seen a Stanford lecture and they were talking about it, and they were like the best way to train your AI agent is to treat it like a child and do positive reinforcement and give it a reward. And believe it or not, so the time that you're spending with the agent and the more it's getting to know you, the better it performs for you. Anybody, where did I miss any questions?
I just want to say, I think this is really, really helpful, to be honest with you, because, content is really hard to create and you always got to think about what you want to do every day. And, I was struggling with that as well. So to me, this is like a big lifesaver. So I'm very excited about seeing the presentation in
That
detail.
yeah, you have content is hard for everybody. You
Yeah.
know, believe it or not, it's time consuming.
Hmm.
You have the right systems in place that really make that easier on what to post. You kind of have it set up in the scheduler so you're not confined to Instagram and YouTube all day. Oh man, I got this post up on Instagram, but I didn't get it up on YouTube. And so it's really, how you're buying time. Like I was saying, you're buying execution. And as we grow this, it's really turning into your team. These AI agents are working on your behalf 24/7. So I'm excited really what we're building here. And again, there's a huge opportunity to be a part of this Founding 100. Also, everyone that comes in at this level, you're going to get full access to uh, the 11-week rollout strategy. And there are agents that will have that framework in it for you and execute for it, but you'll just have the extra bonuses. We get any question here? What content actually converts into saves? Are you talking about social media content? Are you talking about more or less, and I guess you said what content, um, but I also see music as audio content too. And when you say saves, I start thinking Spotify saves. But
You never know.
yeah,
You have to watch your analytics. Your analytics are going to tell you, right? That's the importance. I wonder sometimes if people, how often they go and study and I mean, or just take a look, use their professional dashboard and, look at all of, because all the information is there. It really just kind of depends on you, your audience, and what they're responding to. It could be a reel, like Reels does very well for city limits and when we're uploading, you know, we're always creating reels. So maybe the algorithm or maybe their audience, it's just what they're used to. We have a time frame that we use for reels. We keep everything under 3 minutes because we want to reach as many as people as we can. We want to take advantage of those hashtags, but I think it's different for different creators, you know. So pay your analytics are going to give you that information.
Yeah, she's 100% right. That's why we always say analyze the data. And now with the agents, that we've built here with this entire system, the IBA release and growth system powered by Aggie, you don't have to do so much of that. The really fine tuning and trying to figure it out. It's going to tell you what's performing well, and different things. Also, one of the agents that you'll have access to it in tier two is it's going to really, tell you based on what we know from just digital marketing, social media marketing, psychology, what content typically will get you more saves, right? Because, and this is a very, very popular quote, social media is more about psychology and sociology than it is technology. And so when you understand that and you understand the psychological framework, or you have an agent that's breaking it down for you, um, we're taking the guessing out of it. So, but early on, you have to have a big enough sample size to even start to look. That's why you want something that's going to help you get those 3 posts out a day, right? That was so key to taking city limits from, less than 30,000 followers to now they're at 244,000 followers. It was about executing, kind of by all means necessary. 3 posts a day had to get out. And like Monica was saying, she had to do it. Now we've created the systems and the infrastructure of where it's done for you. So, and what we've seen with city limits, that they didn't just grow on one platform. It tremendously, they grew on every platform. So Instagram, they went from under 30,000 to 244,000 followers. Facebook, they were under 30,000 as well. Now Facebook, they're like 440,000 followers. I think TikTok at the time, back in April 2024, was their best platform as far as numbers. They had about 100,000 followers on TikTok, but now they're sitting at over 500,000 followers on TikTok. And so systems and infrastructure. You know, I'm a music guy too. I'm a creative at heart, but man, if you ask me what I know about business and what scales your business, and like I said at the beginning, as an artist, your business is having those right systems and infrastructure in place. So tier one is what Stephen Range demo for you guys. You can get access of that at $99 a month. Like I said, this is the Founding 100 price. We're looking at, as we grow this, probably another 3 months, that's going to double or triple. Tier two, where we're building more custom AI agents, and you have the exact release framework helping do a lot of the things that we've used to help artists grow their Spotify numbers and their streams on multiple levels. That's what tier two is. That's at 500 a month. And excuse me, tier three, you really have to qualify for that, because that's where we become more hands-on, as far as you still have access to the AI technology, but us bringing in where, you have access to Max and myself and the team, the entire team, Monica, everything we're building to come and take it to the next level. But that's when it demands it. Who, by a raise of hands or emoji in a comment, who thinks they could really benefit from this right now? Stephanie, Tweet, KP, Monica already said she wished she had this. It could have saved her hours. I remember when Max first demoed it, he said he wished he had it 2 years ago. Good, good. So there's you guys have an opportunity to get in now, and like I said, you're The founding 100 is going to be really special. One of the things we're going to do for every tier, if you get in now, we're going to make sure, myself, we get on a bi-weekly Zoom call with you to make sure that not just, you have access to the infrastructure and the systems, but you're utilizing it the right way. So you are seeing that growth. So we will be there early on with just the founding 100, to make sure that, hey, on tier one and tier two, that everything is actually uh, implemented the right way for you. So I think the Icon agent has been sharing. There we go, the iconbreaking.com. You can definitely go ahead and click that link and sign up. Some of you guys said you want a private demo. Just shoot me a message if you have my email. But you all will be seeing emails um, going out to you in the future. In fact, don't get mad because our AI agents might just start to try to become your best friend. We had that happen with the DMs this week. Some of you guys seen the AI agents was just, starting conversation and picking up from where we were talking months ago, or even a year ago. And just so I know again of everybody that's in here, if there aren't any more questions, if you can let me know if you're an artist, a manager, um, you know, producer, so I know kind of who's in the chat. Again, if you did fill out that registration, we have that information too. KP said an artist. Jason Bradley said artist manager. Cool, cool. Artist, artist, artist manager, manager. Okay, we're getting a lot of managers. Good. Manager. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably managing more than one act. And like Steven said, we have the ability where you can have all your artists up under one account. Um, and so now you've just, man, you're getting execution, and the time that you're saving is going to be tremendous.
The great thing about that, Keys, is that you can also have them join as a user, and then you can show them their analytics. You can show them how they're doing and all those things like that. So it's not just really just like a printout. You can actually, have a live session with them and show them kind of, how everything is performing, and they can also approve their own posts if they want. You can kind of collaborate. So that's one of the great things about using that part of the tool.
Great. Thank you so much, Julian. Thank you again. Man, I wish we would have had this about 5 years ago, right? But everything is timing and is so important. And again, I can't stress you guys having the opportunity to get into this now. You're going to be at the cutting edge. Because one thing about what we're doing at IBA, we're thinking about not just what the next year looks like, but what does the next 5 to 10 years look like of the music industry? And we're developing the technology, the infrastructure, and the systems that's going to, you know, uh, be what ushers in. This is going to be the way artists grow. That's why we're calling it the release and growth system, and tier one, the post and growth system. So definitely. But if there's no more questions, you guys, you got the link. If you want to reach out, I'll reach out to some of you all that I already know. Cindy, Stephanie, definitely reach out to you guys. We'll get those private demos set up. And but I don't want to keep too much of you guys' time, but my biggest goal, hopefully through everything that you got tremendous value on this call, from Max and Monica. And again, I don't know if some of you guys did Google, but you're really talking, and you just had the opportunity to speak with people that have had a hand in building some of the biggest icons to date, and some of their projects and A&R and everything. So again, hope you guys found tremendous value in this. You gave me your time. I took up 2 hours of your life. So I appreciate you for that. And we'll be reaching out. There's no more questions. I think I think there was one question I mixed. Shane, just to get you, and thank you everybody. Shane said, is it easier to build fans around personality, lifestyle, idea, worldview, music, which creates the most loyal audience? I think the first one that you said, personality. Some of you guys is like Tweet, she's going through the 11-week rollout strategy. And that's one of our early branding uh exercises because the algorithms, one of the things that the algorithms move off of is personality types, right? And so if you can really tap into your personality, and I'm like specifically like Instagram and Meta and Google, they know exactly your personality type to a T, believe it or not. That's how they know what to keep putting in front of you. So definitely personality to me and storytelling and engagement is one of the biggest things. And then yeah, lifestyle and what we call world building. Those are all important things, but the most important to me is personality and lean into your personality. You don't have to show up on these platforms as something that's not you, and for me that was the biggest, you know, you know, myth that I personally, because again, believe it or not, and I know I talk a lot, I'm a preacher's kid, but I'm introverted. I did not want to show up on social media at all 8 years ago, but I found a way to lean into my personality type and what was unique to who I am, and it made it so much easier to create that content. Definitely glad you took that, Shane. Me too. So guys, we'll be reaching out. Thank you all again.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Max and Monica. Kyle, I know you're here, and Steven as well. And again, thank you all that took the time to just kind of stay on this call. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Have a good
Peace.
night.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Keys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
night.
so much.
Later.